Billy is maximum rodeo clown, rodeo bull. He has been in a hospital eating tiny pudding meals, worried about kid.
He is Max Billy this
He
morning.
is maximum Billy.
Yeah.
So let's, Millie Gill. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's review some of the weekend. He needs to get some of this out because he's shooting shrapnel in every direction. So let's begin with Drake being courtside at a high school game with LeBron. What are your thoughts there, Billy Gill, as you emerge from how old is Mia now? How old? 8 days, 9 days?
2 weeks and a couple days, I think. I don't know. Drake, though, honestly, what's his end game? What is he trying to get? Is he trying to jump on the Bronny Land bandwagon before anyone else? Why is he at a high school game? Also, why is he running around on the court? Why is he arguing with the referee? Why is he Drake? Why does he do these things? You know what happens if you run out onto a court and you're not Drake? You get kicked out of the place or arrested. But Drake's just running around all willy-nilly when some high school kid dunks, like, whoa, like he's never seen a dunk. Listen, Drake, and high school kid, I'm sorry to pee on your parade today. Not an impressive dunk. Drake's seen 1,000 dunks more impressive than that high schooler's dunk, okay? So I don't know why he's acting like it's the greatest thing he's ever seen. He goes to dunk contests where people are jumping over cars and Dwight's doing his Superman thing with the phone booth. And that kid dunking had Drake running around into the middle of the court because he was so impressed by a dunk. I just don't buy it.
That has to be intimidating to a high school referee, correct? No matter how important the game. The idea that LeBron and Drake are courtside and that Drake feels free enough to get up and argue with the referee. Like, that's something that needs to not be happening. Whatever it is that you think, whether high school kids should have televised games, whether high school kids should be famous, even though it seems to have worked out for LeBron, I believe we could draw the line at Drake needs to not be yelling at a high school referee.
Drake also needs to not care more about the outcome of the game than the parents of the children actually playing the game.
I disagree. I think this makes him a basketball purist. I think that Drake just loves the game. He loves basketball. And no matter the level. So you know what? The fact that he gets pumped up about a high school basketball game, I think makes him cooler.
You are the only one who believes that. There is no one thinking that. But I just want to, I simply want to review sports through Billy's.
But wait a minute. Hold on. Do you think Drake is taking in like pickup games at the park? Because these games, as basketball purist loves, always have cameras around him.
Well, the ones that he attends without cameras, you wouldn't know about because there aren't cameras.
Yeah, but to Billy's point, do you think he's showing up to a game where LeBron's kid's not playing?
It's a good point. Yes, to Billy's point, to Billy's very important point. I think we can all agree. I don't think anybody other than, I imagine that the kids at that high school were very, very excited to see Drake sitting courtside. But outside of that, I think we could reach, even in a divided America, something close to consensus on, come on, Drake, don't run on the court and yell at the referee, at the high school referee.
What do you think Drake likes more, basketball or attention? Because I feel like it's attention, right? Drake's not watching these games in the 400 level. Drake needs to be courtside. He needs to be running around the court. I'm surprised Drake doesn't take the ball and dunk or enter like the halftime contest that they give money to people where he takes like half court shots. This is Drake. Enough of him.
Didn't he warm up with the Kentucky basketball team?
Oh, no, he didn't.
I think he was on the court doing warm-ups with them, if I'm not mistaken.
He shot air balls, I believe.
Billy somehow also learned over the weekend that Le'Veon Bell was a Chief. He didn't know that, even though they were in the Super Bowl. That was something he discovered this weekend when Le'Veon Bell said he will never play for Andy Reid again. Boy, that took a precipitous drop, didn't the whole Le'Veon Bell, the most patient runner I've ever seen.
Yes.
That became something else very quickly.
And then he apologized the very next day because he did.
The one time that Adam Gase has been vindicated.
Yeah.
Adam Gase ran him out and he was right.
Well, is there more to that story that I missed? Because I wasn't keeping up with everything. But I just saw that Le'Veon kind of ripped Andy Reid, and then he half apologized by saying that there's stuff there and that he's not going to get into it. And it's like, well, if you don't want to get into it, why did you even start it? What happened there? And he was a Chief for how long?
Only a season, and I think he's just mad because he didn't get any carries last year. I think that's the only animosity he has, is that it goes back to his holdout with the Steelers. Ever since he held out for a year, he hasn't had the career in the season that he thought he would have after that.
He didn't play in the Super Bowl. He had like 300 yards. They used him some, but he was one, like, it is a damning indictment, right? Andy, when you get a situation that Adam Gase looks like he's ruined you, you sat out a year. It is looking like one of the most disastrous holdouts in the history of holding out because he was by consensus.
Well, he did get paid though.
He got paid
Not as
some.
much.
Not as much.
He got paid some. He didn't get paid. I think he took less than what he could have gotten if he had just accepted what he started with. Holds out for a year. The Jets don't know how to use him. He leaves there. A catastrophic mistake by the Jets, right? Did he have a 100-yard game with the Jets? Did he have even 100-yard game with the Jets?
I think he had maybe one, maybe. He had just under 800 yards in his one full season with the Jets. It wasn't good, Dan.
The part that is a really damning indictment of wherever he is in a league that has made the running back disposable and uses up bodies at that position. If Andy Reid can't use you in that offense, you ain't worth much now to the rest of the league. So whatever it is the indictments were when you were a Jet, now you go to the Chiefs. I mean, somebody might sign you, but now you're looking all of a sudden, it's sort of how LaShawn McCoy was a Chief as well, where you're like, oh, that's almost done. There's not a lot left in that gas tank. Maybe he can reinvent himself from there, but I think if you can't make it work in that offense as a running back, you can't make it work.
Le'Veon Bell had 87 yards. That was his highest total as a New York Jet. I think LaShawn McCoy knew he was done, was fine being on those teams, was fine because he was on the Bucs last year as well and won back-to-back Super Bowls. Le'Veon Bell still thinks he can play and play at a high level, and I think he's proven over the last few years he can't.
To his defense, though, the Chiefs' offense was kind of an embarrassment of riches last season. There wasn't really a lot of space for him in the game plan. So it wasn't completely his fault nor Andy Reid's fault. It just wasn't really a good situation for either of them. And I think he probably still has a couple more years as like a second or third string slot receiver running back hybrid, but he's not the Le'Veon Bell of like 2013 anymore.
It's a rare case in the player empowerment era of a player making a public comment like this, and most people will look at the player and be like, what are you talking about? Like, Andy Reid not only is an incredible coach, but he also seems like an uncommonly nice man for a football coach. Who would have a go at Andy Reid?
Isn't that true, what he's saying there?
Because I guess it is, yes. Who would have a go at Andy Reid, right?
Oh, Jessica's making, okay, from the maker of We're Not the Top of the Food Chain and there are animals that are smarter than us, Jessica's making a sour face at you, Chris. What? You don't like Andy Reid, Jessica?
No, I think Andy Reid, I don't want to say I love Andy Reid, but like I agree, he's very likable, but like there's probably, you've never played for him, Woody. There's probably reasons that players don't like him. We don't know the full picture there.
Who are the players that don't like Andy Reid other than Le'Veon Bell?
There's not a lot of ripping of
public. Yeah, they probably wouldn't say it because they know that they're going to get shit on, like we're shitting on Le'Veon Bell right now.
Is he a great coach? I mean, do we know that? Without that Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes, is Andy Reid a great coach?
Fair point.
The people who know about these things that don't do the measurements by winning a Super Bowl and talk about schemes and matchups and game plans, the people who know more than us who are doing the measurements of did he win the last game that I saw him play, say that he is a great coach. Yes, by consensus, without dispute. There is no one among the people who know how to measure these things. There is no one who says he is not. There are questions about his time management, but that's about it.
Yeah, but a couple of years ago, people questioned it. And now he got the ring and no one else questions it. He probably should have 2, perhaps 3, maybe even 4. I mean, he had Donovan McNabb. He had Terrell Owens. I mean, he had some great quarterbacks, great players, great teams. And he should have won last year. He let a 43-year-old quarterback beat him. How great is he? Seriously. I'm with Billy. Overrated, Andy Reid.
We're not saying it, Dan. We're just asking.
Yeah, we're just asking questions, Dan. You ponder.
Here's one that Stugotz asked one time. This is the expertise of Stugotz right here on this subject.
Go ahead, Andy Reid. I
Jesus.
dare you to go 14-2 and allow Alex Smith to leave Arrowhead Stadium to leave Kansas City. Go ahead, I dare you. Because of Patrick Mahomes. Because you think you could turn Patrick Mahomes into something that Alex Smith is not. Alex Smith is a very good quarterback. The audacity, first off, to do this to Alex Smith, who's been very good and loyal to Andy Reid and won him a lot of football games, to dangle Patrick Mahomes out there because Andy Reid thinks he's some sort of quarterback whisperer, which he is not, by the way. He is not, because if he was, Alex Smith would be better than he's been the last few years. So I dare.
I mean, that's a record for contradiction.
It's on Andy Reid.
That is
the only reason Alex Smith is not better than Andy Reid.
That sets a world record for Stugotz not paying attention to any of the things he said the sentence before. I think you should absolutely be banned from ever having a Chiefs opinion again while Andy Reid is there. Like I do believe that this area should be quarantined, fumigated. You should not be, there should be security outside of this area anytime that you want to give a Chiefs take. You should not have basic American freedoms or human rights around the Chiefs. I believe that's how bad that take was.
Totally fair. But how about Mahomes concentrate on winning a second Super Bowl, not going undefeated? He's talking about 20, hey, get back to the Super Bowl and win a second Super Bowl.
After I banned you from any Chiefs opinions, you immediately lurch into the mix with another Chiefs opinion. That's what you do.
You didn't hear what he said, did you?
He was just waiting. No. He doesn't listen. He's just waiting for his turn to talk. His ears don't work. They're not functioning things. They're just skin on the side of his head.
A lot of quarterbacks have a ring, Dan. A lot of coaches have a single ring. Do me a favor, win 2. Validate the first one. Both of you.
How do we do this? How do we ban Stugotz from having Chiefs opinions going forward, because he's already won by having the very worst one ever given? Like a Chiefs opinion has never been, there's never been a worse opinion about the Chiefs than the one in the history of people having opinions about the Chiefs.
You think that Patrick Mahomes should not be focused on winning another Super Bowl, Dan?
Right.
I mean, I just don't understand.
I think that Stugotz shouldn't be allowed to have any opinions on the Chiefs based on the last one. Alex Smith would still be his quarterback.
That's true. 9-7 though, or 10-7 now, 17 games. I don't care how, like 20, it doesn't win a Super Bowl. Okay, Dan, stop worrying about perfection and go win that second Super Bowl. You think Brady's worried about 20-0? No, he's worried about another ring. That's what you worry about. Doesn't matter how he gets to it. Doesn't matter if he loses 6 games along the way. Just peak at the right time.
As soon as I ban him from having Chiefs opinions, he becomes a fountain of useless Chiefs opinions, like an unstoppable flume of Chiefs opinions.
Stugotz, you don't think Tom Brady wishes he had that Super Bowl back after the undefeated season just so he could have one more notch on his Tom Brady record book and do something that someone else hasn't done?
I think he's gone on record saying he'd give back Super Bowls to get an undefeated season.
Well, he's got so many that he could.
Right. Mahomes does not. Exactly.
Billy, one more thing. I saw the New York Times on the front page of the New York Times, and I did feel that this was met with a bit of a yawn. Correct me if I'm wrong. Usually, outside of NCAA academic scandals, when in sports there is a cheating scandal of any sort, we rise up with indignation and outrage and judgment and cluck, cluck, cluck about how wrong it is to soil the integrity of the game. But I think we've gotten so used to it in baseball that this substance pitcher talk, while a story in baseball, and I'm not disputing that it's a baseball story, I was surprised to see it on the front page of the New York Times because I thought it was being met around the country with a bit of yawning indifference. Yes, because the investigation, Stugotz, has been thorough. It's thousands of baseballs, and it appears that just about every damn pitcher in the sport is doing something to increase the spin rate. And what's happening is worse offense than you've seen in 60 years in that sport, unwatchable, aesthetic, boring. And Billy, I'm guessing, given how mad you are at the Astros and the Yankees, I'm guessing that you're not one of the people meeting this with yawning indifference.
I'm just tired of it, Dan. I'm tired of this baseball. I'm tired of a story that comes out by Buster Olney that MLB is going to soon release a memo about the cheating. How about just release the memo? How about just say stop cheating? Because the whole premise about why it is that they're putting out there that they're working on a memo that they're going to release later this week, which, by the way, we know what the memo is going to be. Don't cheat. So I don't know what it is that they're doing that's taking so long to come up with this memo. But the reason that they're doing this is because they're hoping that once they put out the memo that says don't cheat, that the cheaters have already stopped cheating because they know that the don't cheat memo is coming. How about don't cheat? How about you knew that the rule was not to do it? So why are you doing it to begin with? And why is it that we're still doing these whole fake memo things and no punishment? Because what's going to happen, I'm telling you what's going to happen with this Manfred, Dan. And don't think that I forgot about that Yankees memo that we still haven't seen because of coronavirus. What's going to happen with this whole thing, Dan, is that they're going to interview all the cheaters and they're going to give them all immunity and no one's going to get punished. No one's going to get punished except the Astros manager, who I forgot his name, that he was the only one that got punished in the whole thing when he was the one stopping people from breaking the TVs to begin with. It's such a joke at this point in time. And now that we're free, can we talk about something that we weren't allowed to talk about back in the day? Lewis Brinson got into that All-Star game and Rob Manfred was cheating and taking away those votes because we found that stipulation in the rules saying that the commissioner of baseball could cancel out any votes that he didn't want in there. And all of a sudden there was no votes for old Louis Brinson. And we were told that we couldn't talk about that. But now that we can, something was up there. Do we all agree on that?
I'm shocked to hear that we, quote unquote, we were told not to talk about that because I and me are not in that we. No one told me not to talk about it. You were told not to talk about the fact that Lewis Brinson, our show, was trying to get him into the All-Star game. And we believe that a lot of people were voting for him because the numbers suggest that when we ask you guys to do something, you do it very strongly. You believe that we were wrong there and you were specifically told to not talk about it?
Well, I have lots of regrets about that whole situation, but I will say this. It was a bit suspicious with all the signs that we saw showing up that we didn't even get like a peek in the top 10. I thought that was odd. Did I think he was going to get in? No. Did I think he would at least make it onto like the leaderboard of like the top 10 or 15? Like maybe. Was I told or was it suggested, hey, maybe after a somewhat problematic interview with the commissioner of baseball that was a big deal, maybe let's not publicly accuse him of cheating, even though you find in the bylaws that it's within his right to determine which votes are valid and invalid in the All-Star game process. Was I maybe suggested, let's not continue to point that out and possibly accuse someone of doing something by finding these rules in the bylaws? Possibly it was suggested to me on more than one occasion, at which point the campaign kind of just fizzled away.
It's just about.
First I'm hearing of this in any way, shape, or form. I also heard for the first time, a new book has come out that the Astros evidently were cheating after they said they were cheating. And the question after 2017, the question I have for you, as we were talking earlier about how the integrity of the measurements have been skewed in basketball in the playoffs, because in getting to the greed, in grinding through the bodies, the four best teams at the end of last season, none of them won a single playoff game in the second round. All of them broken, physically broken, and just not as good this year because of the strain put on them. My question to you is there ever a circumstance with a revoked championship by the NCAA or cheating scandal around the Astros? Is there ever a circumstance where the asterisk actually ever means anything, where a championship actually does get taken away in a way that people remember it? Or once you've celebrated on the field, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your entire workplace was rampant with cheating. It can't be taken away. It's just there forever. History records it, and you might get tainted, but you're always going to be the champion. Like, is there any circumstance that you can think of throughout sports history where it doesn't pay to cheat that way because they can't actually take anything from you?
Right.
And in the case of and in the case of that stupid baseball scandal where only management got punished, where you had the result distorted by cheating. And I can't think of a circumstance where going back and retroactively taking it ever means anything, ever.
Well, USC has had a national championship vacated because of the Reggie Bush situation. So, like, there are championships that have been vacated, but to your point, no USC fan doesn't remember that season fondly or doesn't remember Reggie Bush running through secondaries fondly, right? It's more about the memories that are created from winning championships. And the Houston fans, if anything, have been galvanized by this cheating scandal. They think that it's us against the world, and it's probably because it is, right? Everyone hates the Astros now. And so, if anything, this is part of their identity, not something to kind of be ashamed of.
Yeah, USC actually never won that national title, and actually Reggie Bush didn't win the Heisman either. They just didn't play those last two games in 2004 and 2005. I don't really remember it. I don't think it happened, Woody. So I kind of, disagree there.
You're the only one.
Was Notre Dame involved somehow?
Yeah, Brady Quinn could have won something if not for that,
I mean,
Brady Quinn did. He won the Heisman, and they won a national. That's a claimed national championship by Jessica Smetana. So.
I like that. Your own personal record books, Smetty. Stugotz, this is amazing. Everyone recognizes the Astros, right, as the World Series champions 2 years ago. No one's taking that away from them. Nobody.
I'm just asking you, what are the real consequences of what we're talking about now that a book has come out and said, what they said even before about their cheating, that's also not true. So on top of being cheaters, they're also liars. And what? They're still champions, whether cheaters or liars.
I would say the Black Sox would be the one. I mean, I'm going back a ways.
1919. Wow. Pre-depression. Okay.
I mean, a book's the wrong way to go about that, though, right? That news has to be broken on Twitter and no one's going to hear about it. Who's going to read a 300-page book talking about how the Astros cheated? Get it on a tweet with 60,000 likes and then we'll see some action, you know?
I think if I've got this right, though, you mentioned the Black Sox. They dumped that World Series, and I don't remember the champion from 1919. I only remember the dumpers, no?
It was the Reds.
Okay, thank you, Roy. So the Reds won
the Big Red Machine.
No, that was not the Big Red Machine. That was 60 years before the Big Red Machine. One of the big stories from sports this weekend, I found this interesting because obviously many of you, and this was just awful to watch. Christian Eriksen, Denmark, ends up having cardiac arrest on the field. They say he was gone. And because a lot of people acted quickly, the captain of the team, I don't know his name, but just did everything, concealed him from camera view, took care of his air passage, consoled his wife. But a lot of people, I found super interesting that a whole lot of people were mad that that was broadcast. And I wanted to ask you guys what you think the responsibility of television is there, because I understand that you're watching that and you are at your escape. You're here for sports. And wow, the mortality of that creeping into your feel good feels really uncomfortable and nobody wants to see it. But I thought the reaction of they shouldn't have broadcast all of that. That was not my opinion when I was watching it. I'm like, you're asking the broadcasters to not be broadcasters as something horrific happens to protect you from feeling bad about something horrific that actually happened. And so I don't know how the group felt about this, because it was a very pervasive reaction. We are uncomfortable around death and nobody wants to watch that. And not since Hank Gathers was on a court have we been faced that obviously with an athlete in his or her prime just falling on the floor. And you're like, oh my God, did I just witness a death? But what is the responsibility of the broadcast there?
I think it's to listen. You have no idea it's coming, obviously. So you have to stay with it for a minute to see what's actually happening and provide your audience with the information, with the news of what's happening. And once you've done that and established that, I don't think you need to go back to it. That would be my opinion. I mean, you update people, but I don't think you need to continuously go back to it, right? It's uncomfortable.
I know it's uncomfortable, but is that the job of the telecast to not make you uncomfortable? Or is the job of the telecast to bring you to broadcast what's on the field? Do you want them making all of your moral decisions for you? Because there are plenty of people. There are plenty of people made uncomfortable by kneeling during the national anthem. Like, where am I supposed to draw the line? Maybe death is the line. I don't know, but I would hate to be the one responsible for having to make that decision.
Right.
And then I'm going to be wrong either way, because people are going to wonder, well, why didn't you stay with that? The choice they made is going to be the one criticized, but I suspect that if they'd made a different choice, that too would have been criticized, because when I asked the question to you guys, I don't know the answer. I just wasn't blaming the broadcast for staying with it. I'm just like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Yes, this is deeply uncomfortable, but it's also what's happening in this game. And you're just going to leave it? You're going to go to commercial? You're going to try and sell me diapers now? Like, what are you supposed to do?
Well, I think like people have this reaction as well. I remember like the Kevin Ware injury for Louisville, where his leg or his bone penetrated the skin, and people are like getting mad at CBS for showing that. I think death is a completely another conversation. And it was interesting because I was kind of going to be prepared to make a similar argument to you, which is a journalistic argument of an incident has happened on the field, and it is the obligation of the broadcast to let you know what is going on, right? You have the ability to broadcast what's going on. There was one shot, though, that made me very uncomfortable. And it was when they went to his weeping wife.
His wife.
Yeah.
And that was like, now it's a little voyeuristic at this point, where it's like, I don't need to see, a broadcast tragedy, and on top of that we're showing her wife, like showing the medical process. And by the way, that medical team holy shit, what a job that
they
did.
saved his life.
They 100% saved his life. And you mentioned the captain, Simon Kerr, who did a brilliant job of keeping his passageway opened and all these things that happened. It was an incredible tribute to humanity. They chanted his name afterwards, and it's brilliant that he's still alive. But my feeling was that it should be broadcast up until the point that you see his weeping wife. It's like, come on, guys, like this is way too far.
But do we get the heroism of the captain? Do we get to see someone act like the captain?
You can tell me about it, Dan. I mean, for me, I'm just saying for me.
I agree. I think the broadcast can tell you what's happening and not show you what's happening. I think that's the difference in a newscast. You don't have to necessarily tune into a sporting event and be witnessing someone coming back to life. I think that's a completely different category than when you turn on the news and you're watching a war zone and you see that type of thing. The audience expectations are completely different for those types of things. But I agree with Whitty that this happens in college sporting events a lot, where a player will get injured and the director will cut to a shot of their parents in the stands. And I think that that is gratuitous and really just unquestionably uncalled for.
Yeah, I mean, this happened in a college basketball game this past season. Remember with Keontae Johnson at the University of Florida, where he passed out in the middle of a game, and there were some questions as to whether or not he died on the field. But in terms of distinctions, I think this is different because normally ESPN would have commentators at the stadium, right? And they could tell you with their own eyes. But because of COVID, no one is at the ground. They don't have on-site reporters. Really, the only eyes that they have on this incident are the scenes that they're getting from the host broadcaster, which, by the way, we should absolve ESPN of some criticism here because they're not in charge of which shots are being taken. So as people are getting mad at them for putting his weeping wife on television, that wasn't their decision. They're taking a feed from the stadium that's being produced by somebody else.
It's also easier to just sort of attack an entity for your discomfort. But let me ask the question a different way. Where's the line before that on your discomfort? If we're in agreement, yes, don't show me a death, and we didn't know that he was dying, and we didn't know what it was, and he is not dead. But if death is indeed okay, that's crossing the line, and weeping wife, that's crossing the line. How much before death do I need to go before you guys aren't going to yell at the broadcaster for I was made uncomfortable by Ware's leg snapping during a Louisville basketball game? Because I really don't know. I am asking the question, and I'm not taking a side on this. I'm sort of looking at it, and I'm like, if you're uncomfortable as a viewer, your criticism is going to go somewhere. If you are left sitting there watching something and you are uncomfortable, that is not going to go without complaint from you. You are going to have to put that helplessness, that anger, that sadness, that discomfort, you're going to have to put the blame for it somewhere because you did not tune into a sporting event to feel that. But where else do I put it? Because Joe Theismann's leg snapped on television in a way that made Lawrence Taylor mortified and call the paramedics from the sideline.
And they went back to that a few times, right? Showed replays.
Well, it's one of the most famous videos you will see in
Right.
sport. And after the fact, we know it's just a broken leg and it's disgusting, but it's just a broken leg.
I think injuries, though, are things that broadcasters prepare themselves for, but this is something that rarely happens, which is why everyone was left completely unprepared. And I really think it has to do with the audience's expectations for what you're going to see when you turn on a sporting event. You expect to see players get injured, unfortunately. That's the nature of sports, but this is the line. And like we saw the line, and the line was crossed, I think, for a lot of people.
That right there is the reason that Chris Bosh, even though he had a doctor clear him, was not allowed to play basketball again because the Miami Heat and the NBA could not sanction when we knew that that was the risk, right? With Erickson, we didn't know that that was the risk. That fell out of the sky as a total surprise. With Chris Bosh, we knew the risk. If there are blood clots here, he can die on the court, and it's the reason his career ended.
And in terms of that line, like I do think I'm a fair absolutist in terms of what I'd want to see there. I at that point on that broadcast, the only thing that is relevant, it's not the game, it's not what the people in the studio think about what's going on, it's not what the commentators think, is this guy going to live? And so, yeah, that might make people squeamish, but I'm okay with that being broadcast. Again, just don't show kind of the tragic elements of people reacting to it. But if you want to show me kind of the medical process of how they kept him alive. And look, the Denmark players formed a wall around Christian Eriksen so that he can have some privacy. One of the Finland fans actually gave the Denmark players a flag so that they can hold it over him to cover him and potentially even cover his dead body if that happened. But I actually think in that spot, the broadcast has an obligation to show you. And if you don't want to see it, you can switch the channel. But I actually think they have an obligation to essentially report on a news story unfolding in front of their eyes.
You can report on it without showing it, Chris. There's still a man fighting for his life. There's still a family that's concerned. There's a wife concerned about her husband. There's a family that's concerned about their loved one. I mean, you could do that without showing. You want to see the medical team and the process they go through and bringing him back. And I would say the family might feel differently about that.
And so what do I do with this? What do I do with prayer circle around a football player that you don't know is paralyzed on the field? What do you do? What do you do with that? Because I'm telling you, there aren't rules on some of this stuff. And I understand how it is that people arrive at just an alarming discomfort, but they continued playing. They resumed the game. They still didn't know he was live. And hey, the machine needs to keep moving. We got a game and we got paying customers. They didn't even delay it a day. Those players thought that they did not know whether he was okay. They did not know whether he was going to die at the hospital. And the machine kept moving despite your discomforts, despite their discomforts.
Which I also think, and maybe Whittingham, you disagree because you're a bigger soccer fan than me. That was not the right call. And I know that apparently the players said that they were okay with it. And then I heard that some of them weren't. And like, it was kind of like, we're not really sure what happened there yet. But there has to be prevailing rules in place and prevailing structures in place for when something like this happens. That's why you have an organizing league who organizes these tournaments, right? I don't understand why they were allowed to play.
don't know. I don't know how you prepare for a sudden death like that, or
you can't prepare for it, but once it happens, I'm with Smetty on this. Like, that game should be canceled. There are bigger concerns here than a soccer game.
Yeah, people thought that the next game that followed, which was Belgium and Russia, that had a few players in it that were teammates of Christian Eriksen's, should have been canceled as well. They played as well. So apparently the reporting is that Denmark was essentially given the choice. You play now or you play tomorrow at noon, which was essentially like in 15 hours from when the game ended. And basically the players are like, look, we're already in this state. We're already here. Let's just get it over with. And it was actually, in terms of their chances in the Euros, I know this is completely irrelevant, but losing at home to Finland was not the result that they would have wanted in order to progress to the next round. But yeah, I mean, like, these tournaments are on a very tight schedule. The whole soccer schedule as a whole is on a very tight schedule. They've built in some like contingency.
Schedule is such tight schedule. I understand what you're saying, but
the guy's fighting for his life.
I understand what you're saying.
Sorry you died, but we got to schedule it.
Well, and look, Chris is saying it out loud, but they resumed the goddamn game. Like, it's not like they weren't thinking, hey, we're on a tight schedule. Let's get this body out of here and let's bring another one in here. We're on a tight schedule.
We should also say
this is what I mean. Like, this is why you have a governing body. They're supposed to take into account contingencies for dramatic, life-changing events that could happen during a game. Like, the same thing happened during the pandemic last year, where the NCAA kind of punted and they were like, all right, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, you guys figure it out. And then the players had this whole player movement. And it's like, no, like, the people making these decisions are the people who are supposed to be in charge of these things. It's not up to the players if they should play during a public health crisis. It's not up to Denmark's players if they should play after their teammate might have just died on the field. Like, there should be structures in place for if something like this were to happen. That's why those governing bodies and these leagues make money.
I think the giant squid should handle it. I think the giant squid, because they're smarter than the rest of us in governing bodies, maybe they have a solution for this.
But the giant squid would have said, wait, and let's figure this out first. And then, we would have said, all hail giant squid.
But I did not realize they asked the players at Denmark. I did not realize that happened. And they wanted to continue playing. I mean, they probably should be, not us, not anyone else. They should be the people who decide if they want to continue to play, right? It's their friend, it's their teammate who's ill, right?
And reportedly, Christian Eriksen got on FaceTime with the team and said, go on, keep playing. And look, I mean, that's like, you appreciate a man's wishes at that point, but also, like, if some of them are in a mental state where they almost just watch, like Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper, and Simon Kjær, the captain, who we've referenced, are like legitimate friends and like, longtime teammates. Have been together for a decade on this national team, and they've been kind of the bedrock of a team that is kind of surprising. Like, you wouldn't expect Denmark to be as good at soccer as they are, and they've been the bedrock for why they are now. So they have gone through a lot together. So the idea that they can just be pressed right into action. And Kasper Schmeichel eventually made a save that led to Finland's only goal. I'm sorry, made a mistake that led to Finland's only goal. And who knows if he was in the right mental state to play. But, like, in theory, they're respecting the wishes of their teammate.
Right. And like, that's the question. Like, are these players in the right mental state to decide we should finish this game today? Or are we being forced in between a rock and a hard place by UEFA? Either it's now or tomorrow at noon, which neither solution is good for them. We just saw our teammate almost die on the field. And now you're pressuring us into making this decision on the spot about whether or not to finish this game. How do you do that after just witnessing a traumatic event during the game that you're playing?
Stugotz, as the think pieces were written about fans and their relationship with the athlete, because a bottle's being thrown at Kyrie Irving and Trae Young is being spit on and Russell Westbrook is having popcorn dumped on him, I was thinking to myself along the lines of, one of the things I like about the red zone is it cuts out all of the clutter. It also is more dehumanizing about what's actually happening on the field, because if there's an injury, I don't have to see it. I'm watching football for 7 hours on Sunday, and I'm never seeing they leave injuries to go to someplace else where there aren't injuries.
It's not the injury zone, Dan. It's the red zone channel.
I understand.
Yes.
And so one of the things that's happening in that sport, I appreciate that as an elaboration, that it's not the injury zone. Mm-hmm. That's a totally different channel that evidently Whittingham would be watching, because he likes watching medical procedures on the field. It'd be a very lowly rated channel, but one of the things that happens in football is somehow, even though you have a lot of information, including brains being donated to science because people are killing themselves in order to end their lives and end the pain in football on occasion, one of the things that happens with the dehumanization is that football is violent, but you don't know how violent because you don't feel it on Monday mornings. And leaving those games and those injuries and those prayer circles and the paralysis and the fact that an ambulance is on the sideline on call in football, in the way it probably isn't in some of these sports that aren't as violent, I believe contributes to the dehumanization of these entertainers, because we don't want to look at it, because it makes us uncomfortable. Who wants to see a prayer circle in the middle of their barbecue, in the middle of 10 people at their house wearing Dolphin jerseys? Who wants to see a bunch of warrior gladiators kneeling and weeping next to some dude that they think has lost the use of his limb?
Chris Whittingham.
The medical procedures is what Chris Whittingham, the science is what Whittingham.
No one wants to see it, Dan. Listen, sports is a place you go to have fun, to escape from reality, to get away from some of your stress, some of your problems in your everyday life. And of course, no one wants to see that. They want to move away from it as quickly as possible.
But we all kind of, somewhere in the back of your head is a thought that while watching a football game, somebody might die, right? Like it's a possibility, if remote. It is a possibility. And I don't think we've properly kind of vetted, I guess you can say, our thoughts on when that will happen. What's the media reaction? What's our reaction? What's the broadcast responsibility? And I do kind of wonder if this is like a thought exercise for a lot of people that cover NFL football,
Chris,
to be like, what happens if somebody dies?
Instead of analyzing it, though, it's so much easier to say, don't show me that. I don't want to see it. Just resume the game when that's not there. Like, that's what the broadcast was getting in terms of anger from the public because of all of the things that we're talking about. I came here for fun. Don't show me the awful thing. I'm not here for awful things.
Whittingham, do you think the NFL has a plan in place in case, like, the worst case scenario happens, someone dies during a game? Do you think they've ever considered that is a possibility and they would know what to do? They have a plan.
Chris said that, and I said to myself, I don't actively think that while watching football ever. Like, that's not a thought that I have. Somebody's going to die here, even though, as he mentions it, it's a possibility, obviously.
I've never thought it as well, but that is interesting, the question that Smetty's asking, the point that Chris brings up, because you would think if they don't have a plan in place, they probably do now, or at least they're thinking of one, right, moving forward?
Yeah, this is definitely a thought exercise for the NFL. I mean, I would presume that the league has, like, medically a plan, but in terms of like how you handle the PR afterwards, how you handle playing of games after that. Like, do you suspend the season and take a month off? What's the appropriate amount of time in between a player dying and us resuming action again? What do the broadcasters have a responsibility to show? What's the reporting? Like, I think there's probably a huge number of steps here that are not really thought about that much.
And my point is, if you're Roger Goodell and you make $60 million a year, like, you better have thought of everything. Like, you better have a plan in place for these things. And that's where I think the disconnect is on watching the game yesterday. There was no plan in place. The broadcasters didn't know what to do. The people feeding the footage to the broadcast didn't know what to do. People on the field didn't know what to do. The team didn't know what to do. UEFA clearly had no idea what to do. They just wanted to make money, keep playing the games.
Oh, but there's going to be no right there. There's going to be so much discomfort that we're going to need to put our criticism somewhere. There's not going to be, no matter what the plan is of handling something like that, it's not like it's going to be handled and we're going to be like, oh, that was a terrible tragedy. We're going to blame somebody, because in sports, we always have to blame somebody. If we're uncomfortable, someone somewhere is going to get blamed. And I certainly don't think $60 million Goodell has the answers for anything, given what I just saw happen in that sport when they were like, yes, we're against kneeling against the flag. Oh, never mind. No, never mind. Patrick Mahomes is on a video saying that he's on the other side of this. Let's go to the other side on this. We were so wrong.
Back to the game.
Back to the games. Please don't notice that we don't know what we're doing. Just keep handing us money.
I just think you mitigate harm. Like, there's never going to be a perfect answer, obviously, but like, there was no mitigation of harm done yesterday. Everyone was just completely taken by surprise by this.
It makes me think that we need to prepare for some catastrophic incident to happen. Because, like, if something happened where one of you all, I kind of know CPR, but I just don't know if we're prepared. Like, a lot of incidents. I guess what you're saying is this is a sporting event with a lot of people around, but I just don't know how prepared any of us are for just a catastrophic thing to happen that no one expects.
What do you mean you kind of know CPR?
Yeah,
like
either know or you don't.
Before.
Right.
Hold on a second. You were designated the safety coordinator for the studio and had to go to the courses for this. Why do you kind of know
honestly,
CPR? You're the one that needs to know.
I kind of know CPR because they change that thing every couple of years. Sometimes it's 15-2, sometimes it's 30-2.
Yeah.
Over the years, like the official
There's evolution in how to revive a person from death.
Yes, over the years it has changed. It used to be 30-2, and then it went to 15-2 in terms of pumps and breaths.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Are you at all soothed medically when someone says, I kind of know CPR?
Head tilt, chin lift. I know the basics.
Now we got to send Tony out there to go get the joke.
Tony now appears to be chasing Chris Cody around.
How is it possible that we left ESPN for this?
And we're short-staffed to begin with. We're chasing each other. Look at it.
Oh my God, it's a full-scale chase.
No, it looks like cops.
Chris thinks he's the best athlete around here. Tony will catch him.
There's someone up there on rollerblades. Like, what the hell is going on?
Tony is going to catch him. Tony, tackle his ass. Now somebody's gonna get hurt. Here is what's gonna happen. Tony's stronger than Chris and will tackle him, and now he needs to be in the sand. Tony, yes, you need to complete this mission. Grab him. You've got him down. You've chased him down, right?
And if you don't, your government will disavow you.
I have, guys. I got Chris Cody right here. We're going back to the studio. You want to explain yourself?
No, studio. No,
not to the studio, to the ocean.
Right back to the beach.
I'll put that stat in your face. Now what you gonna do with it? Now what you gonna do with it? Now what you gonna do with it? Gotta smoke you down and all looks collect. Gotta smoke you down and all looks collect. Load up, load up, load up. You better have my stats when my internet connects. Load up. You got a regression to the mean and the stat that I check. Purr. I ain't a fan, I'm a whiz that I respect, little boy. If you want to shoot mid-range, I'll be critiquing. Effective field goal percentage coefficient. Call Daryl Morey. Be Ingros. Baller at the team, median mode. Got algorithms to encode. Ha ha. Sorry if you didn't know. Ha ha. Then I read Zach Lowe. Metrics. But the haters still troll. I love how I show. I love how I show. I love how I show. I love how I show.
Tom, you have written a lot over the years about how the body breaks down in basketball, the travel, how the results get mutated. When all four of the finalists from last year, because of the schedule and because of the toll on the body, when none of them can win a second-round playoff game, where they all break down physically, how distorted is this measurement in basketball, these particular playoffs?
I wrote an article last year that said every championship in NBA history deserves to have an asterisk. Every single one. Because every year there are weird injuries to star players, like you point to Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson having the injuries in the finals. Every year has some weird circumstances that led to the champion winning the title. And so if you go down, I went throughout the entire history of the NBA. Every single title can be slapped with an asterisk because of some extenuating circumstances. This particular postseason, you have every team remaining in the postseason having an injury to a starting player, except for the Phoenix Suns. So if you go to the Clippers, Serge Ibaka, Mike Conley with the Utah Jazz, go on down the line. Every remaining team has a starter that is out because of injury. Danny Green in Philly. This is part of the NBA. It's a war of attrition every single year. This season has been more so, but the idea that every other postseason has been pure and absent any huge debilitating injuries that change the conversation, I think that's an obtuse argument.
Are the Suns best or healthiest?
The Suns aren't best. I would say they have the best chances of winning the 2021 NBA championship right now, simply because you have Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell hurt for the Utah Jazz. And then you have every other team is dealing with injuries or down in the series. So you have to look at the Phoenix Suns as the likely champion of the 2021 season because of the fact they just swept the MVP, Nikola Jokic. They have the second best record in the regular season. Chris Paul is insane. He had 41 assists and 5 turnovers in that series. 41 assists and 5 turnovers. They're playing at a ridiculously high level, and they're the healthiest team going forward.
No Jamal Murray, though, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do in that next series. I would say the Bucks, though, Tom, when you consider that Kyrie's hurt and James Harden may not come back, I think the Bucks have that series, and if they win that series, they go on to win it all.
Is it still possible for Bucks in 5 like I called back at Freedom? Is it still possible?
How many teams has now Stugotz picked? Because you've been on the Nets all season. You've been
I've been on the Nets when 2 of the 3 guys are healthy, but you have 2 of the 3 guys not healthy.
Anyone who's not Chris Paul, I think
that's what I'm trying to do.
You're spending the rest of the postseason just rooting against Chris Paul.
I am.
Why? What's your hatred against Chris Paul?
I don't have hatred towards Chris Paul. What I'm tired of hearing is that Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard of all time. The guy has never been the best player on a team that's made it to the NBA Finals ever. Never been there.
I mean, what he does is not really all that sexy, right? He just takes really good care of the ball and is micromanaging the offense to the point where he's shooting 56% on mid-range jumpers. Someone like you, Stugotz, should appreciate very much Chris Paul's game. Is he takes what the defense gives him and then murders their children. He just says, all right, Denver, you're going to do a drop coverage here. I'm just going to make baskets all day in the mid-range, shooting 56% in the mid-range in that series. And he's just surgical. Like what he does against opposing defenses at his age shouldn't be possible. I think more people should be excited about what they're watching with Chris Paul because, look, like we can get on Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing and go on down the line of all-time NBA players who never won a championship. But Chris Paul has to be right there at the top of that list of the best players who have not won the title.
The thing that Stugotz is doing there that to me is a little annoying because it's so hard for guys that size specifically to be the one carrying a team. And at the end of games that he just simply wouldn't be talking about this person doing all of the same things if that person were 6'8" instead. Like there's just,
Iverson did it, got the Sixers to the NBA finals. Isaiah Thomas did it. Guys have done it before.
Chris Paul is a better basketball player than Allen Iverson was.
I don't think he is. No, I don't think he is. I think Allen Iverson was a better player than Chris Paul. And I'm not just saying that because Allen Iverson took a bad team, to the NBA Finals and had a 1-0 series lead, I believe, over the Lakers in the NBA Finals. I just think Allen Iverson was a better basketball player.
When we didn't know how to do the measurements on how good basketball players are, and it was okay to shoot 40%.
Well, you also remember Chris Paul, what he did in the game last night. He had 37 points and no 3-point attempts. A barely 6-foot player not shooting a 3-pointer is such a dinosaur in today's NBA. We never see that anymore. A point guard dominating the game without taking a three is such a throwback game. The last player to do that in a postseason game, score 30 plus without taking a 3-point shot can anyone guess on here? The last guard score 30 points in a game, in a playoff game without taking a 3-pointer is.
Do we consider Jimmy Butler a guard? Because I feel like he might have done that.
No.
Small forward.
No.
Magic Johnson.
Nope.
Dwayne Wade.
Last player, Dwayne Wade. Correct.
You, Chris.
Way to go, Chris Cody. We're proud of you. Excellent. Give him some fanfare. This is such a happy time. You are the smartest of the animals in the animal kingdom.
Hey, did you steal my stathead.com password, Chris? Is that how you got the answer there?
Stealing it.
Yeah.
Jason,
what did you guys think? Wait, I'm curious. What did you guys think of the Jokic ejection? Because I feel like this is fraught with lots of
terrible. I mean, seriously, that was such a joke. It was an aggressive foul, okay? And Jokic shook his hand before he exited the game. But are you kidding me? Like, there is no reason the best player in the game, the MVP, should be ejected in an elimination game or in any game for that matter for something like that. He went after the basketball. Give me a break.
He did.
No, he didn't.
He wound up and was like clearly trying to hurt Cameron Payne. Like, you don't swipe for the basketball by reaching your hand up high and bringing it down, like clearly with intent to hit him. He also did happen to catch him in the face, but even beyond that, you just start from like, if I said to you, take a freeze frame of where his arm is at his highest, what is he trying to do here? Is he trying to take the basketball? Or is he trying to hit Cameron Payne? He's clearly trying to hit him.
It was an aggressive swipe at the basketball, but clearly I am talking to a bunch of people who did not watch basketball in the 80s. I mean, the mailman is upset that he got ejected. He is. Karl Malone's upset by this, and he should be. He's right.
Oh, wait, so we should have Karl Malone be the czar of the NBA. Like, we should have him.
We shouldn't have him be the czar of anything. Okay, no, he shouldn't be. We need to keep Karl Malone away from anything. Just, you don't want to look too close there. Trust me on this. As it regards, though, Jokic and the specifics of what he did, the reason that he needs to be ejected in that spot, even though what Stugotz is saying in general, none of us want to see the MVP ejected, is because both of his hands are canned hams. Like, he cannot bring that from skyscraper heights down upon a normal sized human being and not do a substantive amount of damage. That was not a basketball play. That was simply, he was frustrated. He's great.
Yeah.
His team is injured. He's down 3-0, and Chris Paul won't stop killing me with these mid-range jumpers.
So what's funny about that is I was worried about Devin Booker. I don't know if anyone else was worried about Devin Booker in that situation because he's stepping to Jokic. Does he not know about Jokic's older two brothers? Have you guys heard stories about Jokic's older two brothers?
No, please inform us.
You gotta be careful sometimes with some of these guys who have made it to the top of this sport from other countries. Right. You do not trifle with them or their families. Like, I am convinced that no one I've ever met can win a fight against Goran Dragic. No one. He looks like a koala, but I'm sorry, you will lose.
So one of Nikola Jokic's older brothers, his name is Nemanja Jokic. He played with Darko Milicic and lived with Darko Milicic in Detroit and just partied with him constantly, living with him. And he put on like 100 pounds and he was playing for like this G League team. And he told Nikola Jokic, his younger brother, like, I'm not letting that happen to you. When you get to the NBA, me and my other brother are going to follow you wherever you go to every game you play, and we're just going to make sure you stay in line. These two older brothers, when Nikola Jokic was a young kid at a picnic, they were trying to climb a tree, and Nikola Jokic said, I don't want to climb that tree. And as punishment for refusing to climb a tree at a picnic, his older brother clamped his arms down, and the other brother threw knives at his head.
Oh, shit.
He's at his head.
Oh, my
goodness. This is a story that
I'm concerned for Booker. I'm like,
Jokic told this story to Lee Jenkins, who did a profile on him for Sports Illustrated. And the whole time I'm reading this article, I'm like, wait, stop here. They threw knives at a younger brother for the offense of not climbing a tree. It's so bad. So when Devin Booker steps to him, that's my immediate thought is like, I really hope that they just all play nice and that they don't have a meeting after the game.
What were your thoughts, speaking of stepping to KD's bodyguard running out and just hitting PJ Tucker with his chest?
Yeah, this is happening a lot in the NBA where it's personal bodyguards are going to the games and not necessarily like the team bodyguard. It's like the players. Chris Paul has one. James Harden has one. Kevin Durant has one. And I was always wondering, like, what happens if they kind of cross the line and overly protect their guy versus like what's normal practice of a team security guard. And the fact that the team has to suspend him, like, that's awkward. These are all awkward things. Pat Riley and the Miami Heat had these awkward conversations with LeBron James about how many of their personal, staffers or the people that he's surrounded with that were on the payroll in Cleveland are supposed to be on the payroll in Miami. And those conversations are super awkward, but it is interesting if you go on down the line in the NBA, which stars have a personal security guard in the locker room? Because that's almost like that's like a status symbol in the NBA. And Kevin Durant has one. James Harden has one. LeBron has one.
It's so great. Kyrie doesn't have one, so he's inferior. They're a status symbol. They're like beepers in the 80s is what you're talking about. Anyone who's anyone in the NBA has a bodyguard, and we're headed toward a day where the bodyguards are fighting each other, right?
Yes.
and I'd like to see that. I got to be honest. I'm totally here to watch NBA bodyguard fights.
Well, I think to talk more to the Kevin Durant situation, like I was stunned to see this stat this morning. I was looking up Kevin Durant with James Harden and Kyrie Irving on the floor this season, plus 13 per 100 possessions, meaning they outscore the opponent by 13 points with those three guys on the floor together. That's a pretty good margin. With Kevin Durant, without Kyrie, without James Harden on the floor, the Brooklyn Nets outscore opponents by plus 13 every 100 possessions. Kevin Durant is so good that this season, without James Harden and Kyrie Irving on the floor, they've been just as good. Am I saying that they're going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks without those two guys? No. But I'm saying don't count them out. Like the idea that Kevin Durant does not have those two players and they're done, I just think is a real overreaction in this series.
Stugotz thinks that Kevin Durant should have won that game yesterday.
All right, Tommy had an opportunity with both those guys out to put a team on his shoulders for the first time in a long time and win a big road game, go up 3-1 back to Brooklyn, and he failed. And he failed miserably, Tom. He was dreadful yesterday.
Yeah, he wasn't good in the fourth quarter, wasn't able to close it out. But look, we'll see when they go back to Brooklyn. Like they could easily go up 3-2 in the series if Kevin Durant has an efficient game. He didn't have his best game yesterday, but I'm not going to pin that on Kevin Durant. Like Kyrie Irving with that injury, and then no James Harden, I'm not going to put that on Kevin Durant. When you're looking at the other team, the Milwaukee Bucks, like Chris Middleton, Giannis, like who else does Kevin Durant have?
Not a lot, but it'd be nice to see Kevin Durant take a team on his back and try to get him past Giannis and the Bucks. Tommy, I'm wondering, the team that has, of the teams left, okay, take Brooklyn out of the equation here, because obviously I think the answer would be Brooklyn and the Clippers. What's the best matchup in the NBA Finals for the NBA?
I think it's got to be Philly versus the Clippers. Just the two big markets in Philly. We've been waiting for Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to ascend into the NBA Finals. They're two of the best young players in today's game. I think that would be huge for the NBA. Like people want to say Utah, but like Donovan Mitchell, for whatever reason, hasn't grasped the national attention. This guy is averaging the second most points in the postseason of his career, the only person who has scored more points per 100 possessions in the postseason is Michael Jordan. Donovan Mitchell has the second highest scoring rate in the postseason in NBA history, and no one seems to care. Like, he's putting up ridiculous numbers, averaging scoring over 30 points in 5 straight games, and he's done it his entire postseason. And the Stugotz answer is do it in the finals. Well, like, every star player has this trajectory of like doing it in the first round, then doing it in the second round, including Michael Jordan. And Donovan Mitchell, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to grasp the national spotlight and have people really care about what he's doing. What he's doing, he's scoring a point per minute in the NBA postseason. It's incredible.
Where do you side on Jay Williams versus Kevin Durant? Jay Williams reported that Kevin Durant says, don't ever mention Greek Freak or Antetokounmpo. Don't mention him in the same breath with me. And Durant, I tend to side with Durant on this stuff, Tom. He never comes this strong with you're a liar about somebody until they're not telling the truth. So I tend to believe Kevin Durant, even though he's a bad messenger that people don't like.
There's a lot of this in journalism, especially when the lines between media person and former NBA player, part of the NBA player fraternity, is now a media person. Like, the lines are blurred when you're on the record or off the record. And so I actually believe Jay Williams here, but I also think that he might have committed like a media journalistic crime there, is just not saying like, hey, I know that thing you said back at that party. Do you mind if I go on air with that? Was that on or off the record? Like, I don't think Jay did that before he went on air. And so I actually think KD might have said that, and he has to come down and say, I would never say such a thing. I've never compared myself, because I think he has to compensate for the words that were said.
But I think he publicly said that Giannis Antetokounmpo has a chance to be the best player in the world. Like, I think he has said that publicly. I don't
Privately,
know.
He's telling the truth, Dan. Publicly, he lies. I mean, I think that's where we're all.
I mean, he did that to Ethan Strauss. I look at that, and he doesn't have to deny it that strongly, does he? Like, what does he care what Antetokounmpo thinks in a series where they're playing against each other? Like, is that something he needs to care about?
I don't know. It's just like you're talking behind my back. You know, like, I think Giannis, I mean, he might be like, they might be friends on the court. And if Giannis felt a certain way about that comment and KD wanted to step up and say, look, I didn't say that. I don't know their relationship. What I do know is, I think as you see more former players get into the media game, like Jay Will, I think this sort of conversation is going to be a lot more cagey in public settings. And we'll see how much of this in the 24/7 Instagram, iPhone era, how much of these like private conversations turn public. This is not going to be the last time we talk about it.
This is what Durant said in 2017, quote, I've never seen anything like him. His ceiling is probably, he could end up being the best player to ever play if he really wanted to. That's pretty scary to think about, but he's by far my favorite player to watch. That's what he said publicly.
Right. But privately, I would understand if he absolutely said, hey, like, get his name out of here. I've won 3 times. I'm the best player in the game.
I don't see Kevin Durant right now. Maybe he was different in 2017. I don't see Kevin Durant right now saying things publicly that aren't exactly whatever the bleep he wants to say. Do you? Do you see a lot of Kevin Durant sort of being polite about how you're receiving him?
No, I see him being very sensitive towards how we're receiving him.
There's no question about that. All right, Tom. Thank you, sir. Good talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Tom.
Let's segue seamlessly now into Stugotz. He's got a batch of weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Dan, the game has changed. Spacing, threes, Steph Curry's pregame gimmicks. But Dan, for one night, I was taken back in time. 38% shooting for the Bucks, 36% for the Nets. Defense, turnovers, and PJ Tucker. Combine that with an 86-83 final score. And Dan, just like that, for one glorious night, basketball was back.
Oh, God.
You enjoy that one?
No.
A defensive struggle, huh?
I don't like defensive struggles in basketball.
I do. Nothing is further away from being back Then women's tennis. Nets guard. Bruce Brown's nickname should be the fall guy. I mean, of all the guys to blame on that team, the guy you're going to blame is Bruce Brown. I've never heard of Bruce Brown until people started blaming him. Did you?
He had a big game earlier this year where he scored like 39 points. It was stunned when he heard about it.
Brooklyn Nets expert
That's
over here.
I'm remembering because
Bruce Brown expert.
That's when I was introduced to Bruce Brown this season as a Net.
All right. Sorry. Apologies to Bruce. Never has a player had more of an impact on a playoff game and series while scoring 0 points than PJ Tucker. That's one bad Mother Tucker. Nikola Jokic. What happened there? I mean, I remember writing that. Nikola Jokic, the rare empty 30-20-10 triple-double.
Totally empty.
PJ Tucker had a better game.
I mean, he has ham hocks for hands. Like he was, I mean, they would have expelled Draymond Green for a month from the sport if he had done that.
30-20-10, meaningless.
Yes.
You agree Tucker had a better game, right?
I do not.
What do you mean?
I do agree, though, that he's a bad Mother Tucker.
Okay. I mean, he had the rare 0-2-1 triple single. PJ Tucker. Intimidated, though. Oh, boy. Leonardo Spinazzola. He can scoot. The Azuri. Whatever.
Spinazzola.
Okay, whatever. Nadal. Djokovic. The rare one for the ages. Never gets old match. Rafa. Joker.
Tennis is good for those. Isn't that what, like tennis?
That's all it's good for.
It's so great across my entire lifetime. Tennis will throw out a Jimmy Connors all of a sudden at 37, and he's just going toe to toe with Borg, and it's amazing. Like they'll do it. They do. They
and
do
it never gets old.
It never gets old.
And it's always one for the ages.
It is always, yes. It's amazing.
I turned on the NBC broadcast and was like, this is the greatest tennis that has ever been played. And I feel like I've heard that about 10 Federer matches.
So true.
Nadal, do it at the French. Joker, winning the French has forced me to make some changes to my top 5 clay court players of all time. Number 5, Dano, Novak Djokovic. Thank you. Number 4, Ivan Lendl. The big Czech. Number 3, Gustavo Kuerten. Oh, God. No, he's got 3 of them, Dan. Number 2, Bjorn Borg. And number 1, Rafa. Djokovic sneaks in there. Mats Wilander, no longer in my top 5. I'm sure he's disappointed.
It is stunning. That is a hurtful weekend for Mats Wilander.
You know what the K in Kucherov stands for, Dan?
I do not.
Complete bullshit.
It seems unfair.
The line wasn't there the entire season. It's the greatest line in the sport right now.
Yeah. It seems unfair that the Panther season would end there because they were just stashing away that guy.
I mean,
and Carolinas and soon to be the Islanders.
Everybody's.
It is the best line in hockey, right, Roy? Kucherov, Stamkos, and points?
Currently, yes.
Which brings me to my top 5 hockey lines of all time.
Oh, wow. Okay, here we go.
Yes, number 5, the Stastny line. Peter, Anton, and Marion, brothers, Quebec Nordiques. It was a glorious time in hockey history. Number 4, Eric Lindros, Jean Leclerc. I don't know his name, but his last name is Renberg.
Michael Renberg.
The Legion of Doom.
I feel like you can't have the. I mean, that you can't.
The Legion of Doom.
No, I'm with you. They made your list because they have a nickname, but one of the guys, you forgetting their name.
Yeah, it's not a great line. You're
not
right.
great.
But the Legion of Doom makes up for it.
Agreed.
The Triple Crown line. Marcel Dion, Charlie Simmer, and Dave Taylor, LA Kings. Oh, was that a good line? The Skyline, number 2, Dan. Mario, Yager, Stevens.
Here we go. Here comes the great one.
Number 1, Luco, Bassi, Trottier, Clark Gillies.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, what about it?
You don't have any Gretzky line in your top 5?
Gretzky, Curry, Anderson, a great line. No nickname, did not put him in. I mean, and Loco, Long Island Lighting Company. I mean, they lit up the lamp. I mean, and you had an enforcer in Gillies. You had maybe the greatest goal scorer of all time in Boss, and then you had Trotz, the captain. I mean, what a line. You won 4 straight Stanley Cups, Dan. I had to drive for 5, but that guy Gretzky got in the way. Forgot about it.
You forgot Gretzky in your top 5 list.
Yeah. Listen, some advice to everyone inside the Islander organization. I'd be very careful even thinking about them being underdogs against the Lightning if you are somewhere in the vicinity of Barry Trotz. He might kill you. With all the sons of former major league players now playing baseball, I saw something about a Vandy pitcher with the last name Rocker. And I thought to myself, it might be John Rocker's son. So I Googled him and quickly realized Kumar Rocker was not John's son. Just thought I'd tell you that. A packed Wrigley Field.
You were doing some journalism, some research
I had to
this
check
weekend.
on it, yes. There's a lot of guys, Dan, we grew up watching their sons are playing.
I know, it's tons. They're all on the Blue Jays.
They are. Oh, boy. A packed Wrigley Field with Bill Murray singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Goosebumps. Also, not sure we should be doing that. On the topic, Venezuela played Brazil last night in the Copa America despite missing 13 players to COVID. I mean, what are we doing? Seriously.
I mean, getting that money.
I guess. Chris Paul up 3-0 for the first time in his career. CP 3-0. How about that? I mean, I wrote that when it was 3-0. Now it's 4-0. They got the brooms out last night.
I understand.
Okay. Garrett Cole. Never has someone said so much by saying absolutely nothing at all. It sounded like someone asked Garrett Cole the most difficult trivia question in the history of trivia. If you are ever in need of someone who can really think on their feet, don't ask Garrett Cole.
He was not ready for the question, and he didn't seem to want to lie, and lying would have been better.
Dan, ready to feel old? Mike Cameron's kid is playing in the majors.
How many?
It feels like Cameron was playing 5 years ago.
How many of them are there? Sons of major leaguers. It's more than a dozen now, correct?
Oh, it has to be, yeah. You got Biggio's son, Vlad's son.
Bichette's.
Crazy. Tatis's, right. Why does it feel like every pitcher is on track for 300 strikeouts and every hitter is on pace for 40 homers? The French Open, running off Naomi Osaka. I'm scared. I've been thinking about this one the entire time. Oh, my God. So Barbora Krajovka.
That's Barbara.
Whatever.
With an O.
What? There's an O there. No one spells Barbara with an O.
I mean, in other countries, they do.
Oh.
It's Barbara.
Babs.
You do know your baseball stat, right? That baseball's been like that for like 3 years, where it's just all or nothing.
This meeting is being recorded.
Home runs or strikeouts. You realize that's where we are with that, right?
Yeah. I'm a little slow to it, granted. I understand. Like, I should have said that 3 years ago.
I'm surprised that that's the first time that's happened, that a meeting has ended in the middle of what we're doing.
Yeah. Zoom added this functionality that can't be turned off. I presume it's for legal reasons, but it is the most annoying thing in the world. This meeting is being recorded. Oh, God.
Do I need to
the angriest Witty's ever been right now?
He's furious. He really is.
It's been a bad day for him.
Do I need to move forward with the other name here, Woody?
What's Babs' name?
Krajikov?
Krejcikova?
What? Close. I was in the neighborhood. I mean, I was.
Not in the same cul-de-sac.
Not the same continent.
And Anastasia Pavlichenko?
Pavlichenkova.
That's neighborhood, right?
That was, neighborhood.
I'm so pleased you got Anastasia right. Well done.
Phoenix Suns. Denver Nuggets. Sixers.
What is that?
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
2-1. But by tomorrow, it could be, we'll see. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, great. I can't wait.
I get LeBron and Jake.
Make sure to call me, okay?
I called him Jake. Jake from State Farm. Drake from State Farm. I get LeBron and Drake, but JR and Jared Dudley? Ronnie James has Drake courtside at his high school games and is on the cover of Sports Illustrated. LeBron, good luck with your kid being normal. Drake, yelling at a high school referee. The D in Drake stands for dick.
Oh, wow.
Drizzy. What is he doing, Dan? Enough. I mean, stop being mean to referees. High school, you're Drake. Devin Booker, otherwise known as the one Riley let get away. Didn't think the team I'd be rooting hardest against this weekend would be Finland. Death, taxes, and the Rays. Tony La Russa getting it done. Angels are better without Mike Trout. Dan, the Metropolitans.
What about him?
The Metropolitans.
I don't dislike the Metropolitans. Right?
I know, but I'm excited.
My parents grew up, right. But I think you think that my New York hatred is for them. It's for the Jets.
I know. I'm aware. We've been doing this 20 years. Does your dad just look at you sometimes and go, Dano, the Metropolitans?
My father, the happiest I've ever seen him was the 86 World Series.
Really?
He ran around the living room in tighty whities because the ball went through Buckner's legs.
Death, taxes, and Odell Beckham Jr. looking amazing after surgery. OBJ. Let's just say this. Odell Beckham is always going to look amazing. Cespedes, you may have lost the match.
Seatbutts.
Oh, whatever.
Oh, my God. You made him Cespedes.
But who cares about the match when you look like that? One might say you lost the fight, but won the war. Some advice to everyone in the Islander organization. Even while up 1-0 on the road, I'd be very careful, even thinking about Tuesday night not being a must-win if you are somewhere in the vicinity of Barry Trotz. He might kill you. Every game is a must-win game for Barry Trotz.
What's the matter, Roy?
I mean, I made that same observation during the Panthers-Lightning series. I got laughed out of the room.
Well, you don't have Trotz. I do.
Yeah, that's true.
Steve Nash finally had the coach and didn't know what the hell he was doing. Speaking of hell, Art Briles, Dan, those are the weekend observations.
I'm surprised, Stugotz, that you didn't have anything in there for Aaron Rodgers. You saw that, was it the president of the Packers? I don't know. Somebody in charge.
Mark Murphy?
With the Packers, yes. Called Aaron Rodgers a complicated fella. And I feel like Packers management probably ought not say much of anything to disparage Aaron Rodgers. And I want to go back for a second here, Stugotz, because I don't know. I know I've become fanboy for Aaron Rodgers publicly, and I don't actually know him. I've talked to him a couple of times, but I don't actually know him. My admiration for him comes simply from having seen, to that point, no quarterback play that position more artfully than he did. A lot of things go into winning. You can argue all you want, and I don't have a winning argument if you tell me Tom Brady is a better quarterback. But in terms of playing the position as an artist, for feel, for everything, Aaron Rodgers before Mahomes was the best I've ever seen. And so that's where my admiration for him comes from. The way that organization has taken that excellence for granted in a way that has not supported him properly or respected him properly. When we just saw, man, it ain't organizations. Look at what just happened to Belichick. We've been laughing at Tampa Bay for most of their existence. Like, it ain't the power at the top of your organization, all the things you want to believe about that sport. It ain't that makes the success. If you have Aaron Rodgers,
you're good.
You're going to win 10 games every season, no matter where he's playing, because he's that good at what he does. And those people who are not nearly as good at their jobs in that place. And when I say that, I mean everyone in Wisconsin. None of you are as good at your job as that man is at his. None of you. There's nobody in Wisconsin doing anything as well as he does that. The fact that he wants out of there after carrying your asses for 13 years because that's it. He's done. He wants something that feels a little better than that. I can't blame him. I'd get upset every time I were him that somebody was putting in quotes, complicated. Fella, this ain't complicated. Respect me because I'm great. And I've been carrying your asses across a decade and a half. Like, it's not complicated.
No, but my guess is they feel like they have supported him and have surrounded him with people, with Davante Adams.
They can think that. And Mike McCarthy, you saw, I mean, Kyler Murray just got done calling that team ass. He just said they've been ass all my life. We've rarely laughed at them harder than when Mike McCarthy was in charge.
Sure.
Mike McCarthy was carried like everyone else in that organization, all of them. They got, with 2 quarterbacks, lucky that no one wanted him earlier, that 22 teams missed and didn't know. Otherwise, he would have been doing that somewhere else and having the same success. Any bunch of bums would have won 10 games in a huddle with Aaron Rodgers.
When you have one of those guys, you have a chance. Every single season, you have a chance. And if you're the Packers, you still have 5 or 6 years where you have a legit great chance. And you're going to let that leave over a GM.
It's
over
just
a general manager.
Stugotz, it's just a modicum of respect, man. Right. Just include him on some of the dumb decisions you got to make because he knows his job.
It's this simple, Aaron. We're thinking about taking your replacement. We're going to take Jordan Love. And Aaron says, guys, don't do that. I'm fine. We're good.
It's not even that. It's not. Tampa asked Brady that question. And he said, yes, go ahead, Trask. Ask. Just ask. Get an honest opinion.
Is saying he's complicated, though, like that big a deal? They could have said he's been a giant pain in the ass for 2 years, and they didn't. They're like, he's complicated. Realistically, how long is Aaron Rodgers going to continue to play, right? Like, this happens with aging quarterbacks. They eventually leave. They're just getting his backup now. And Aaron Rodgers did this to Brett Favre. So I don't see why this is a big deal. Aaron Rodgers can decide at any moment, I'm going to retire. And then they don't have a quarterback. And what are they supposed to do? They're building for the future. It's not like they're saying, Aaron, we drafted your replacement and you're not playing anymore. He's still the starting quarterback. They just have someone for when he leaves if he doesn't want to be there. And they know more than we do about what's going on behind the scenes and whatever is going on between him and management. They just have someone there. And what if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt? Then they have a backup that they can go to.
I understand this notion of succession planning. I think you do it for everyone now other than aging quarterbacks. Because Tom Brady is defying age. Drew Brees defied age. You don't say that someone's 36 and you got to go get their replacement. Like,
but what happened to the Patriots?
You write it out. You write it out.
What happened to the Patriots without Brady?
Well, actually,
they didn't have a plan.
Well, actually, Billy, they went early on their succession planning. They drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, and he was ready, but Tom Brady wasn't ready to leave. Like
Brady went to the owner, but Billy's point is Belichick had a similar plan, and Belichick went. Brady
blew it, and Brady blew it up, but he had a plan that was going to be successful.
But I'm not even talking about the final indignity of Jordan Love on draft day. I'm talking about the extra layer of that on draft day. You didn't get him help. Like for many years, you haven't gotten him real skill position help. You can talk about how Davante Adams has proven me wrong. He has. I did not believe that he was a number one receiver when he started in the league. I do believe Aaron Rodgers can make a lot of guys number one receivers and look like number one receivers. But I can concede that Davante Adams is indeed help. But they've drafted precious little in the way of helping him. Tom Brady left New England because it was a whole lot of Troy Brown and a bunch of mixing and matching and not enough getting of Randy Moss at the skill position.
But I think you said it perfectly, Dan, where bare minimum, just ask. Just like, how does it hurt? Just ask the greatest quarterback who's ever played. Hey, are you cool with us taking a quarterback here in the event that you're going to retire soon?
Billy, you say aging quarterbacks and you have to have a succession plan, but he was the MVP of the league. Like by value, no one was better in the league. So it's not like that precipitous drop is happening next year.
But the year they took Jordan Love, he did not have a great season. Last year, he had a great season.
Okay, but how about evaluate your talent better? He was the best in the bleeping league last year.
But what do you do if you ask him, hey, are you cool with us taking a quarterback? And he says no. Are you just not going to do Aaron says that we're not going to do this now, so we're not going to continue to plan for the future. I mean, you can ask him, What do you think he would have said if you would have asked him?
I
Do you
would
think he would have
say,
said cool?
Billy, I would say that if your relationship with him had been good all along, that Brady would have shrugged his shoulders on Trask like he just did, and that Rodgers would have at some point, if you'd been consulting with him along the path, giving him that respect, allowing him to be a part of the power structure because he knows more about what he's doing on offense than anyone in your building. And so I would extend him the courtesy, a decency that is just very simple with your valuable employees in any workplace. Just ask. We might still be at ESPN. Just if they'd asked, like, just ask. Like,
What about me?
Yeah, you.
Not talking about me.
I wanted to talk to you, Stugotz, about everything that's happening around those Paul brothers and how they have gamed the system on fame. And really, they're changing things with a generation or representative of a generation. You heard Greg Cody talk about this the other day, that kids today want to be YouTubers and vloggers instead of whatever, doctors, astronauts, teachers, whatever kids used to want to be, because the path to fame is so much easier. And so Floyd Mayweather, did you see the numbers on this fight? Because this game is changing. It is not enough anymore to just be boxing. There are now competitors coming for boxing, and it doesn't care whether you want to shake your fist at clouds as an old person. YouTubers versus TikTokers is something that kids are watching, and kids get to make everything popular. And these Paul brothers are popular, even though they're problematic. And Floyd Mayweather stays winning as the original streaming service who learned before anybody, the greatest businessman, I believe, in the history of athletics.
The best of YouTube versus the best of TikTok. I don't know what the numbers were. Were they? I'm assuming they were through the roof, right? It's just all
this stuff. It's not just that. It's Triller. We're going to talk to Jim Lampley at some point because they're giving you more. I don't know where that DJ Khaled thing happened at that YouTuber versus TikToker thing, right? Where he comes out and the music never came on. It was super cringeworthy. Imagine DJ Khaled a cappella. Do I need to even say anything else? Like,
no,
I mean,
we got it.
I mean, it was
another one. I like that.
It was truly terrible, but I want to play for you some sound. Mayweather knows he's stealing your money. He does not mind telling you he's stealing your money. You've been watching him. This guy's one of the greatest winners across sports, any generation that we've ever seen, because he never gets hit in that sport somehow. His fights aren't terribly interesting, but he gets you to the circus tent every time, and he keeps more of a percentage than anybody gets to keep.
And he never loses.
And he tells you right here. He tells you right. He set up more fights against the Pauls if he wants. If Jake beats Spent Woodley, and more $35 million paydays, which is what he got. $35 million. Logan Paul 0-2 got $5 million. $5 million. Floyd Mayweather tells you he's a thief and then throws it in your face afterward.
They say it's not all about the money. Well, your kids can't eat legacy. Patches on my trunks, that's 30 million alone. So who's really the smartest one in the sport of boxing? If you guys don't want to see me do no exhibitions, don't come, don't watch. When it comes to legalized bank robbing, I'm the best. I don't care if y'all write good stories. I don't care if y'all write bad stories. At the end of the day, I will always have a last laugh. Damn, I'm writing this story about Floyd. But look at the house I go to, and look at the house he go to. Then all the guys that y'all said was extraordinary, the Canelos and the Pacquiaos, I made them look ordinary. And then when I see it's a chance for me to do a quick heist, at the end of the day, I'm the smart one. They say, oh, Floyd don't look good like he used to look. My bank account looking better and better each and every day.
$35 million for an exhibition against an 0-2, not really a boxer. That is
doing it with a smile on his face.
It's just $35 million for an exhibition. How is that possible? In his 40s, undefeated through that sport. What is put it on the poll, please, Guillermo. What is Floyd better at? Boxing or stealing your money? He is famous.
He's doing it legally, by the way, as he pointed out. Okay, he says he's the best
legally,
ever.
He's doing it legally in boxing. He's doing plenty other that is viewed illegally in his past, and he is not on a team. He represents nothing more than the Mayweather brand, which is to be a loudmouth that is unctuous, and you pay to watch him get beat up, and you never win. He always does. And at the end of it, you look up and he has your money, and he always wins. The most undefeated of undefeated people across sports, because it's like there ain't going to be brain issues with Floyd either. He doesn't get hit up there. He comes through a violent sport somehow untouched. In his 40s,
he seems to be getting sharper.
In his 40s, exhibitions against a guy who cannot hurt him,
and he knows it.
$35 million. Yeah. And so what's happening with young people, because boxing, you know how much I love boxing, Stugotz. In terms of courage, I don't think athletes, George St. Pierre told you in his words, that they all have some form of fear, and you're stripped down to nothing but your courage, your vulnerability. You're in trunks, and at any point, someone can embarrass you. And you go from charming, wonderful story of Jorge Masvidal to, in a flash, the internet is laughing at you. And that's what we pay to see. And that is the risk that many of us wouldn't be capable of summoning. The idea, the symbolism in that sport of the way that you earn your living is by fighting other desperate people for money. It's just core competition, and there's no one to help you. The trainer shouting from the, like, there's nobody helping you. You are in there with your courage. Let's see what happens. He comes through that sport untouched. I told you one of the most amazing things I've seen in my lifetime is him in the middle of a boxing match, and he hears the announcers ringside talking about the upcoming Super Bowl, and he starts giving them football commentary while he's in the corner. He's not in the corner sitting during a break. He's fighting, and he's just hearing. He's hearing what the announcers are saying, and he tries to get into a sports radio conversation with them while fighting.
That's amazing. He was giving football hot takes while he was boxing.
He wasn't satisfied with merely being excellent at never getting hit in a sport where you get hit. But on top of that, I know he's uneducated, and I know 50 Cent makes fun of him for not being able to read. And I don't know if he's going to blow through that money. I've told you before. I've seen him and his entourage at a hotel paying whatever it is, throwing $10,000 or $20,000 out of a knapsack to get a bungalow bed. They throw away a ton of money. He doesn't need 50 cars. If you're going to go broke, if there's the possibility of Floyd Mayweather going broke and playing to an athletic and boxing cliche, he lives his life in the manner that might make that possible. But I don't think it's possible if you can at 40 come out of retirement for an exhibition
35
and
mil.
command $35 million because you're picking the perfect opponent.
I think as long as you could continue to make $35 million doing that, you're never going to run out of money. He's made over $1 billion, and he has $450 million.
Can you be not educated in traditional terms? Because I object in general, Stugotz, to when people call athletes stupid, because to sculpt that singular skill that they do takes a level of intelligence that often requires detriments in other areas. It's impossible to be not impossible, but it's very hard to be a Renaissance man and beat other guys for money, with other people for money when you're competing. But is it possible for some people to dismiss Floyd with being dumb, uneducated, or illiterate, and also at the same time being the best businessman you've ever seen in sports at just simply making money? Because he doesn't have to share it, Stugotz. Like, the thing, he got to streaming 20 years before everybody else figured out on demand.
Right.
20 years with not having to share it with teammates. 20 years of owning his own brand, picking the perfect fights, and doing so with the way that boxing does it, rummaging around in that cesspool of racist stuff so that you can have Mexicans fighting black people, and you're just sort of profiting off of trafficking in that.
But you don't have to have or go through a traditional educational experience to be good at business, to be street smart, to know how to generate money. You don't have to, Dan. You see it on Wall Street all the time.
Do you think the audience thinks that Floyd Mayweather is a good businessman? Do you think the audience, even given everything you know about him, which is he makes a ton of money, but he's not educated. He does a lot of things with his mouth that are like, says a lot of things that are unctuous, has done a bunch of stuff that is unctuous. I don't think that people look at someone like Floyd Mayweather and are willing to extend him the intelligence of being great at business.
I think some do. I think most probably just view him as a great fighter, maybe the greatest fighter they've ever seen. And that's why they're drawn to him and drawn to his fights. I think there are some people who probably say, wow, he's done all that without a traditional education. Like, that's pretty impressive.
Is this how boxing is going to evolve with young people, with Triller? Like, because it's not, the place I was headed is it's viewed largely as a dying sport. The heavyweights just recently got good. It's in the realm of horse racing and just a different time. But if it's going to be popular with young people, throw some DJ Khaled in there, throw some Triller in there, throw some Pauls in there,
throw some TikTok, some YouTube.
Some YouTubers. Like, is this the way that this is going to evolve where
you guys sound so old. You're just saying young words.
Yeah, we know we do.
TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
Just-
It can't be
just
good
throw a
for
TikTok
boxing.
in there, yeah.
It's not good for boxing, right? That like these people with no real experience are kind of making a joke of it and making more than all the boxers are making.
I mean, no, it's not good for boxing, but that's boxing's fault, right?
I'm not sure it's not good for boxing. For as old as I sound, if you're getting it to young people, what difference does it make how you get it to young people? You're one to talk, Billy. You say Conor McGregor against Floyd is the greatest fight you've ever seen. Like, you got sucked right into that.
But I don't care about boxing.
If I've got to appeal to the ignorant, why don't I dumb it down?
Like, but you're not showing the real sport. You're showing kind of like a circus and a sideshow when you have YouTubers fighting you. Did you see Lamar Odom was fighting what's Nick Carter's brother, Aaron Carter, this weekend and knocked him out? That's not good for boxing.
I've never seen a boxer. Lamar Odom needs money and got a bunch of money. Lamar Odom was wearing his basketball shorts under his ass. Now do I sound like an old person? I've never seen boxer. Come on, I see that all over South Beach. Everywhere on South Beach, I see it. I've never seen a boxer wearing the trunks under his ass. Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo. Have you ever seen a boxer wearing the boxing trunks under his ass? I think it is good. It's not good for the art of the sport. It's not good for the purists of the sport, but they're not keeping it alive. It's got to be kept alive by young people. And if you've got to dumb it down to lure them into the tent, no, that's not boxing. But were you watching the undercard? Because some of you did with Floyd and Paul. You just watched guys you would have never watched otherwise because you were just there for the fame, for the spectacle. It just used to be that the fight itself, the last fight of the night, was the spectacle, and the boxing night was unlike anything in sports, the big night for a championship fight.
Yeah, and I think the streaming era will help boxing grow because now fights are being moved a little bit less off of pay-per-view, which was $80 per, to a streaming service that is at most $20 a month, right? So accessibility to boxing has grown. I guess the only way that this nonsense helps the actual proper sport of boxing is if all of a sudden people become fans of the sport with this as an access point and they go and check out Top Rank or, like whatever the other major promotions are. But I mean, that's the only way that this helps.
But do you see that happening? Because I don't.
Well, it is happening right now.
Yeah, but people are going from these fights and now they're checking out more traditional boxing matches.
Just like boxing, because you see undercards and all of a sudden you're interested. Like, this is the way to get it to the uninitiated.
It's the same conversation we have with baseball, right? All of America's best athletes are not playing baseball anymore. They're playing different sports. It's the same thing with boxing. Everybody who would be inclined to be in boxing is now fighting in the UFC or fighting MMA. So now you're seeing all these great strikers who are going to that instead of going to boxing. There was a huge fight on Saturday night, obviously UFC 263, and it was a huge boxing match too. Shakur Stevenson fought, and nobody cares.
But this isn't boxing. That's like saying that MTV Rock and Jock softball was good for baseball. That's what this is for boxing. This isn't real boxing.
Well, you tell me whether those Triller fights. You tell me whether having concerts around it and everybody's smoking marijuana and it's a spectacle and it's just fame people. It's just famous people. This is the thing that I wanted to lead you guys to conversationally because I saw somebody, I wish I could give credit to them. I don't know off the top of my head, but the reason that I started talking about this is because somebody was calling out ESPN and SportsCenter with the idea on their social media. They had 17 mentions of the Paul Mayweather fight and none of Simone Biles being excellent at what she did. And so it's sort of substance in sports versus candy. Which is it? Is it interest that's going to make us cover it? Or is it covering it that's going to create the interest? But Simone Biles is undisputably as excellent as anyone who's ever done that. Won a championship, ho-hum, who cares? She does things no one's ever done in that sport, and she doesn't get as many mentions. 17 of an 0-2 Paul brother who's just famous, and you're just trolling for the clicks of young people because one's going to get you the clicks and one of them's not. One's going to get you the interaction. So which is it? Is it the stupidity of the people being led by the famous that triggers how it is that they're covered, or is it the way that they're covered that triggers the interest?
Why can't it be people just want to be entertained? Young people just want to be entertained, and boxing's not doing it, but TikTok versus YouTube with Floyd Mayweather and a Paul brother, that will do it. That will get young people to watch. I got my daughter to watch.
Those are two different things. Floyd Mayweather, there was a different set of fights this weekend. YouTubers fighting TikTok. We do sound old in this realm. I don't mind so much sounding old in this realm. No.
I'm going to sound disappointed and sad. Like the part that's most disheartening about that Floyd Mayweather sound that we played earlier is that it's true, right? Like I was getting mad. Like I felt rage inside of me because everything that he said was 100% accurate. I'm like, yeah, I'm helpless to stop him having a very nice house. I'm helpless to stop this nonsense becoming more popular. The stat, by the way, an Instagram account called Shot Clock said that Logan Paul losing to Floyd Mayweather got 17 posts off the SportsCenter Instagram, and Simone Biles got 0 posts off the ESPN Instagram. Like
after doing what though? After winning, after
so her 7th U.S. gymnastics title. And it's just like, and the thing
it's getting old, the story.
No, but the thing that Simone Biles does is incredible. Like she's so good at. She's by far like. I can't say there's any authority. I was about to say she's the best gymnast ever. I mean, she very well could be, but
I mean,
like
she does things that have never been done
she's
before.
Absolutely extraordinary and doesn't get nearly the amount of attention.
She has her own gymnastics move now. Her own gymnastics move. She is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, but no one really cares about gymnastics.
Until
Yeah,
the
we do.
Olympics.
That's not true.
No. No, Chris is right. Hold on a second. Chris is right. Until the Olympics, no one really cares. You're not watching the qualifying events. You're just not.
Stugotz,
You
you're
might
not.
be.
People
No.
are watching it. The media coverage of these sports is a snake eating its tail. You're not watching it because you don't know it's on. You don't care about it until after it happens and she wins the 7th championship. And we don't talk about it the rest of the year because it's not being covered. It's like I said, it's cyclical. It's a circle. It's a snake eating its tail. You know that this Paul Mayweather fight is on because you hear about it constantly and everyone's talking about it. So you tune in and you watch it. It's the same problem that women's sports get in any other sport that you look at. And these Olympic sports, I think, are a great test case for that. There's interest in this year round. And maybe it's not you and your demographic, but I want to watch Simone Biles. A lot of my friends do. It's there.
I think all of us reacted the same way at the idea that Fancy Lad was capable of rage. The idea
We need to follow that path. Whenever he's feeling rage.
Yes, I need to go there. Excuse me, Jessica. It's not that it wasn't a worthy tangent, but he's been enraged. And since then, I've wanted to get back to this rage because it's a fancy rage. And I simply can't imagine an enraged Chris Whittingham, regardless. The thing that does it, and LeBron did this to a whole lot of people. After he lost to the Mavericks, you remember this, he sat in a press conference and was asked, did it bother him that fans enjoyed his suffering? And he's like, nah, at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to my house and my life is going to be filled with great wealth. And they're going to go back to the same house and the same misery.
That's worse than the decision, by the way.
He said,
everyone gets on it for the decision. That's way worse.
But he said
it's
that.
His worst public moment.
You say his worst public moment. You say that because it hurts. Because it hurts, and it's because it creates the rage of, oh, is he right? Oh, it's true. And you guys say that that's his worst public moment. Listen to Floyd again double down on a press conference that's just basically him taking $35 million, laughing at you, and telling all of you to go bleep yourselves.
They say it's not all about the money. Well, your kids can't eat legacy. Patches on my trunks, that's $30 million alone. So who's really the smartest one in the sport of boxing? If you guys don't want to see me do no exhibitions, don't come, don't watch. When it comes to legalized bank robbing, I'm the best. I don't care if y'all write good stories. I don't care if y'all write bad stories. At the end of the day, I will always have the last laugh. Damn, I'm writing this story about Floyd. But look at the house I go to, and look at the house he go to. Then all the guys that y'all said was extraordinary, the Canelos and the Pacquiaos, I made them look ordinary. And then when I see it's a chance for me to do a quick heist, at the end of the day, I'm the smart one. He said, oh, Floyd don't look good like he used to look. My bank account looking better and better each and every day.
The part about that is, this is my favorite part about that. I can look at that and say, wow, Floyd, you are being maximum asshole. And not one syllable of what you said is wrong. It's so hard to pull off that tightrope where I'm like, man, I am enraged by you. You are so right. I hate myself.
You can't dispute it.
I'm shouting at the computer screen.
Thanks.
I'm just one man, Floyd. I'm not watching, but I can't make everyone else not watch. Damn it!
You can't do anything except be $49.99 less rich because he took it from you. Because he got you again. This time, I mean, honest to God, you know what? I've changed my opinion. Jessica's right. when she says that there has to be an animal kingdom smarter than humans. And this is the proof. We were arguing the other side of this. Show me the giant shrimp that has made Netflix. Show me the giant shrimp that could get suckered by Floyd Mayweather across 2 decades for its food or something. Because
I'd pay to watch Floyd fight a squid. I'll tell you that right now.
How is this possible?
Are you saying the squid would never purchase the fights?
No, I'm saying that this is why all the animal kingdoms are smarter than us. They did not spend anything that's valuable to them watching Floyd Mayweather at over 40 in an exhibition against the worst of 2 brothers who aren't boxers.
Wait a second, Dan. Mike Tyson fought a shark and won.
That's right.
What does that tell you?
That is right.
Humans, baby.
Yeah.
We should be ashamed of ourselves.
Yeah. I'm not.
Like as a country, as just a country that we allowed Floyd to happen. I mean, he's told it. Come on. He's been telling us for years. He announces, he's at your front door. Hey, I'm going to walk into your house and I'm going to take all your things. I'm going to do it for 20 years. I'm going to go in laughing. I'm going to leave laughing. What are you going to do about it? You're going to sit there and watch it and watch him pay to do it.
I'm not going to get hit. I'm going to dance around the ring. I'm going to do very little hitting myself. And when I do connect, it's not going to be very hard. And then I'm going to take your money. Yes. And you'll never see me lose. $50.
And the thing is like the other genius in it. I mean, obviously, so much of boxing is cutting wrestling promos, but that wrestling promo will probably make me want to buy his next fight on the off chance that someone does actually connect, does hit him in the face, and I finally get to see that shut up.
And we're still covering it, right? Like we just spent 40 minutes on
more
Floyd
than Simone Biles. Yes, they're covering
and Floyd, of all the boxers who, there are many with problematic pasts, Floyd probably is one of the worst, right? What has Simone Biles done to deserve like no coverage, being the best in the world at what she does, just because we claim
let her have a big mouth. Let her have a big mouth or some attitude or not behave in ways that feel like sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Let her be the polarizing gymnast. The polarizing gymnast.
Talking smack to other gymnasts.
Yes. What? That's how you will get mentioned with the polls. I can't believe it's taken us this long to get to this story. I'm surprised none of you mentioned it to me. We'll get the funniest thing from the sports weekend here in a second. But there were some words put together in a headline, Stugotz, this weekend that made me laugh because I did not think that I would see them all together in a place. And I was filled with great remorse that I did see them all together in the same place. NBC had to halt production of Ultimate Slip and Slide. Now, I say Ultimate Slip and Slide. We're all in on the idea of show me some televised Ultimate Slip and Slide. But then the words that came after that are explosive diarrhea outbreak.
Still in.
You can't have that jumble of words together. Just that. I mean, what is the sickness that I can give you for Ultimate Slip and Slide more deeply visually unpleasant than the phrase explosive diarrhea outbreak? Like just all of it. It's not just diarrhea. It's not just explosive diarrhea. It is uncontrollable spreading rash of
multiple
everyone's
people.
got it. Look out.
One person on the Ultimate Slip and Slide with explosive diarrhea is bad enough, but an outbreak.
I mean, it's not just, I'm reading these words together. I'm like, slip and slide. Okay. Ultimate. Okay. Diarrhea. Less okay. Explosive. Less okay. Okay. Outbreak. You've gone too far.
Explosive makes it though, right?
Yeah, it's explosive.
It's definitely explosive. One person with explosive diarrhea is not the same. It's just little volcanoes of it just bursts all over the place of explosive.
I think they're still shooting the show if it's not explosive. If it's just diarrhea, I don't think they halt.
Just your plain Jane diarrhea.
Right.
Yeah.
Plain Jane, huh?
Plain Jane diarrhea. Just your
run of the mill.
Just your plain Jane.
Ordinary.
I have some quotes here. The outbreak of awful explosive diarrhea left people, quote, collapsing on set, being forced to run into porta potties.
Oh my God. we've had another phrase introduced into this that makes this a million times worse. Can you imagine having explosive diarrhea in a porta potty? That is a nightmare.
Well, apparently they all got Jardinera, which is a bacterial infection from food. And I have a family member who had Jardinera once, and they claim they have not been the same since. So I feel for all of these people and their infliction of Jardinera.
Roy, why are you covering your mouth from the way that you just laughed in the other room? I heard it even though we've got soundproof glass.
Tony with a Michael Biamonte impression was like, Jardinera, Jardinera, Jardinera 3-pointer. Like he's a little odd thing.
Outbreak of explosive diarrhea porta potty. It's a lot of bad things. It's a
porta potty on its own. Chris is right.
Per square foot, was there anywhere in America less pleasant than Ultimate Slip and Slide, wherever it is that they were filming?
Man, this footage needs to get out. There's footage of this somewhere.
Chris, we need to do some reporting on the scene. I'm very disappointed today because Jessica was in pursuit of somebody in Boston who had been swallowed by a whale, and I wanted to talk to that person because I believe that is a great fear many people have. What happened? Who's a
Skeptical
liar?
Billy.
Wait, am I the liar? Oh,
No, the person claiming to get swallowed by whale's tail, if you know what I mean. That is a lie. That person did not get swallowed by a whale. You believe that happened?
He said he saw full darkness. He was completely covered. Full darkness.
Did he close his eyes? Because I see full darkness every time I close my eyes.
Wow.
Are you saying he should come on the show and defend himself, Billy? I think it's a good opportunity for him to, prove it.
What do you think?
Show.
What do you think you do if you're getting swallowed by a whale? Like if you see that full darkness and you say
die.
to yourself, "I'm in," like you just got to start punching, right, and kicking and flailing in every direction.
What is more unpleasant? Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, at Batard Show. Being swallowed by a whale or running with explosive diarrhea toward those porta potties?
You do imagine that the whale's mouth to be so big that you are trying to punch your way out. Like you could stand on its tongue. You can walk side to side, punch him in the teeth, You
want to make the whale throw up. You're thinking to yourself in a quick moment, how do I make this whale throw up? So I just start flailing everywhere. It's crazy. I start punching lungs. Whenever I'm just grabbing stuff.
Lungs.
I'll punch anything.
I
can't see. It's dark.
Speed bag that thing in the back of the mouth.
Speed bag. Yes.
Yeah, speed bag that thing. Because if something touches that, I think you vomit automatically, right?
I'll just start biting stuff. You never know, man.
Desperate times, Dan.
I love the idea of Chris Cody punching a lung that is 700 times larger than him.
And it just keeps coming back to him.
Trying to get a whale to throw up. Now, what is this thing that you're speaking of, Billy? What is it called? Are you talking about like the tonsils of a whale?
I don't know. No, not even a whale. Like a human. Like open your mouth. Go.
It's called the uvula.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with Dan though.
It sounds like a bad
I once
word,
thought that was the tonsil. Like when growing up, you always looked at that thing. I thought that was the tonsil.
Don't want you as an ally.
Yeah.
Don't need you over here on this.
Ooh, I can see Jess's.
Oh wow. Speed bag.
Her uvula.
I love the idea of Chris having presence of mind inside the
I
mouth
love
of a
it.
whale.
What are you
supposed to do?
Hang on a
Total
second.
poise.
Hold on a second.
Total poise.
Take a
See, all
second.
of a sudden
Take a
he's an
second here.
anatomy expert in the dark. Not panicked at all. Let me
No,
see if
you guys are being harsh on Chris. I'm totally with him. It seems like you can get comfy on the tongue. Like,
Yes.
you're going to spend a couple of minutes in that mouth.
It's your last chance. You gotta think of somebody. You just gonna like enjoy the darkness and lay down. No, I'm panicking. I'm trying to survive. I have kids. I have a child.
Guillermo, remind me to ask Ron McGill tomorrow.
Oh, it's on the list.
How this would go for us.
Can you punch your way out of a whale?
Yeah,
This guy probably did. We're sitting here laughing at it.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Can you punch your way out of a whale? Well, Guillermo says it didn't happen. And we can't ask this guy pressing questions because his son has gotten too many interview requests because now everyone's after it. Everyone wants to talk to this guy because we all have the fear somewhere, do we not? Like I could just be swimming around and all of a sudden I don't have home court anymore. The whale does, and that's it. I'm no longer the top of the food chain. What the hell just happened? I'm afraid of that sometimes when I'm in a kayak. Never mind just me out there, like just a kayak. Oh no, here it comes. What's to stop a whale from getting overeager? The Stugotz of whales, about a bunch of plankton, doesn't know I'm here. Bang, My tiny little boat is breaking in half. How does this not happen more often?
It's the ocean. You never had home court.
How does this not happen more often? Where breaching whales just accidentally pick up a boat
because they know that we'll just start flailing in there, and then they'll have to spit us out.
Yeah. That's an excellent point by Roy, though. It is their home court, Dan.
I'm saying I don't have home court anymore. If I were on land, I'd be okay against a whale.
Oh, God.
I'm saying I've lost home court now, and it's difficult in these circumstances to win on the road. Which part of this are you not understanding?
Yeah, I'm sure you're good against a beach whale. Yeah.
Actually, whales, if they're beached, they can explode and kill people nearby. So I don't know if you could beat a whale on land, Dan. People have died getting hit by whale exploded carcasses.
Chris Cody would fight his way out of there by just a couple of swift kicks to the lungs.
Give me a butter knife. Give me a butter knife.
But I think the whale always has home courts. I mean, that's what we're trying to tell you.
Well, now
it's a whale.
Now, put it on the poll then, Guillermo. Do you fear a whale on land?
Wait a minute, though. Hold on. Whales just explode if they dry up on land?
Yeah, apparently they're full of methane gas once they wash up and the methane builds up. So if you stand next to a beach whale, it's actually super dangerous. You should evacuate because they might just blow up at any point. And at one point in the 70s, I believe, somewhere, I think it was in the United States, people actually put dynamite in the whale to blow it up.
And it destroyed cars.
Yeah, there was whale debris everywhere, guts, everything.
Whale debris. It's just
terrifying.
I mean, it's just giant 400-pound slabs of whale meat falling from the sky. Yes, it's horrifying. Let's do funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha ha ha!
Billy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Drake running around on a high school basketball court arguing with high school referees at LeBron James's son's basketball game.
Excellent choice. Jessica, what do you have? What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The poor trainer at the dog show who tripped and fell and almost crushed the dog.
That was almost a poor dog.
That was great.
That dog was flying too. That dog was 100% going to win that obstacle course thing. And
it was horrible.
This trainer just completely falls over and ruins this dog's progress.
Did you guys see that Barry Bonds has a dog in the Westminster Dog Show? Barry Bonds' sister, but he was being interviewed about it. It was an odd juxtaposition to see a smiling Barry Bonds talking about miniature schnauzers.
I imagine that tunnel that the dogs run through is terrifying for the dog.
Dog looked a little juiced.
Wow.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work,
That's why
unfortunately, the loser game show. Oh, that's Stugotz. That's why I said it. He's always several steps ahead with his terrible jokes. What? Roy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The Lamar Odom Aaron Carter fight.
Yeah.
That was a disgrace.
Ask Crack, what about you?
Video of Dan emerging, facing a 15-year-old softball pitcher. I mean, Dan, I would have done so much better than you. I would have. That second pitch did look a little tricky.
A lot of you guys have been making fun of me because you're like, this was a 15-year-old girl. I believe that was Claire Sua. I believe she became an Olympic softball pitcher. So and yes, it was embarrassing. I stumbled down all the way down the third base line because I had not prepared for a changeup. I thought I was going to time that fastball. I failed. Fancy man, what about you?
Colombia at the Copa America were singing the national anthem. They got to the second verse and everyone forgot the lyrics.
Tony, what do you have? Do you have a funniest thing from the sports weekend? He does not. Stugotz, what about you?
J.R. Smith, who was with Drake and LeBron James at Bronny's game, looking as stoned as you could look in the stands at a high school basketball game.
It's an everyday thing.
Now, I wanted to go with Drew Holiday giving the quote when Kevin Durant and PJ Tucker went back and forth. I don't think anyone wants to attack Tuck crazy. I just love that there's no verb there. But based on that video of me stumbling down the third base line and failing to hit off of a 15-year-old girl, Juju on social media was asking people to come up with a baseball name for me, to give me a baseball name. And here are some of your nominees if I were a baseball player. Fudge Rodriguez.
That's good.
I feel like Pudge was also good, but Fudge makes it worse.
Fudge
yes.
is better, yeah.
Hoagie Berra. Don Fattingly.
You're fat.
Donnie Baseball.
Barry Bonds. Swollen Ryan. Fed McGriff.
No fat list dash.
Crime Dog.
Entree Dawson.
Oh.
Jose con queso.
Oh, that's good.
That is great, actually.
My favorite was Mr. Club Sandwich, Dan.
Chocolate Chipper Jones.
Roy Slobs.
You guys are lazy. Yasiel Pig. You're just lazy.
You would have read those ones if you thought they were funny.
Fat Rap.
That's good.
That's good. That's good right there. That's good.
Wait a minute. 1993 Marlins fourth starter bad rap is what you just hit me in the face with.
And it hurts.
Oh my God, I'm insane with rage. The fourth starter of the Marlins, you turned him against me and you called me fat rap.
I think you're giving him too much credit. I think he was like a long reliever.
How dare you? Pat Rapp was never a long reliever.
No, he was a starter.
He was a starter.
bad one.
And he might have been a third starter. Swollen Ryan. Which is the best from among those? Let's go ahead and put that on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. All of the nominees here, Guillermo, you've got Fudge Rodriguez, Hoagie Berra, Don Fattingly, Barry Bonds. Oh, I forgot about Cookie Betts.
Be more like Kooky Bets, like in the Kooky Crisp commercial. Kooky Bets.
Yeah.
Swollen Ryan, Fed McGriff, Entree Dawson.
Entree, yeah.
It's good. Jose con queso.
And Fat Rat.
And yes, put that on there as well. Thank you again, Stugotz. You're always there for me. I see him move away from me as if he's sort of ashamed, but the glee on his face before he delivered it.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not sorry. I don't know why
I just wanted to make sure it was included.
Why do you still apologize for these things? You're in no way sorry. We could have also chosen why did somebody decide to fly across the sky in an airplane and pay for the skywriting that wrote Joe Rogan is literally 5'3"? Why did somebody do that this weekend? What was the reason for this? I know there's a Twitter account. Joe Rogan is literally 5'3", but that's a great deal of skywriting. Like that's not, I don't know how much that costs or if it's length or time, but that's not.
Oh, so it wasn't a banner. It was like drawn out in the sky.
It was skywriting. Yes. It
wow.
was. Yes.
By the time you're done with the sentence, like the first part has gone away, right? It's vanished.
No, it was wonderful.
Wow,
it was
really?
it was very clean. I was not aware till that point that Joe Rogan was 5'3". Were you?
Well, clearly this skywriting has worked then. Money well spent.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, Guillermo. Did you know that Joe Rogan was literally 5'3"?
You think a lot of people are paying for skywriting these days? Like, I feel like he got it on the cheap.
You think the skywriting business is hurting?
I do.
You feel like there was one last guy, like just waiting for that call. Nobody calls anymore to write in the sky.
Is height still one of the things that we can make fun of in 2021? Because, like, does that change your opinion of Joe Rogan at all? Like, clearly he's been very well framed throughout his career, like on Fear Factor, on UFC, and even in the ring, you'd think in the ring it would look obvious.
I had no
UFC
idea he was
fighters.
5'3".
Yeah, and so I mean, clearly he's been well framed throughout his career. But like, can we still make fun of height in 2021?
Is it even accurate? Yes, says Fat Rap. You can make fun of certain things still in 2021.
He has claimed that he's 5'8" on Twitter. So, we got to figure out what the truth is.
Okay, because I don't know the truth, but 5 inches, that would make him a lot smaller than Stugotz. Joe Rogan.
I think the shortest person on the show should decide if we can still make fun of short people.
We're a tall show.
Toe.
Is it me?
Wow.